Hello again, everybody, and welcome back to Wait, Are These Guys Friends? I am Mike, and I'm here with Randy. And Randy, we're back for another week of holly jolly goodness. You ready for it?
Oh yeah. Saddle up or sleigh
I'm
up
sorry.
or whatever.
You you got there, but your first, oh yeah, could not have sounded more unenthused. You're like, and I feel like I could have gone up to you like, Randy, I have got you $3 million. Are you ready?
I
Yeah,
suppose.
yeah, time if I have to. I guess I have to pay taxes on it. You'll just find a
hmm
negative reason thing. I mean,
Thanks for
we'll
nothing.
see.
It's more a burden than a help, Mike. So
I mean, oh man, you're triggering me. That's my life. Oh God, I'm thinking about all the bad decisions I've made.
uh
Anyway,
mhm.
this week we are going to talk. Last week we talked A Christmas Carol, all of the movies from like, not all of, that's insane, but many of the movies from the last like 25 to 50 years.
Yep.
And this week we are going to talk about our favorite TV show Christmas episodes. So not necessarily Christmas Carol, but because even though many of them could parody that, but
hmm
just our favorite Christmas themed episodes. But talking about A Christmas Carol, I think about last week when we were in the lead up to the episode. You had told me that at first you thought you wanted to rank Christmas carols. Is that? And
I
I got
did. I had forgotten we were talking about ranking all the Christmas Carol, and because I do really enjoy, and I think in years past I've even texted you kind of weird Christmas carols. I like finding kind of offbeat or alternative Christmas carols that are really fun remakes or other
yeah.
versions of it. And so I thought that's what we were doing, and I was trying to figure out how we were going to get around all the YouTube stuff, but
I was going to say,
actually play them. But
I mean, I think we just immediately, not that we're monetized much now, but we just
yeah,
immediately not ever do anything ever and be
right,
copyright stricken and, I don't know, probably get sued. I'm not sure how it works. Maybe we
yeah.
get taken down. We should test the limits one week and just see what happens. Well,
Start.
with Mike and Randy's DJ fun time. But I was going to ask two things. Did you do enough research where you had a song or two in mind already that you wanted to talk about?
It was more a list of fun because there are things that I've found that are really cool covers and remakes of classic Christmas carols, and then
Mm,
there's some that are really bad. And sometimes it's
okay.
almost fun to find the really bad ones too, just because you're just like, oh no,
That
this did not work at all.
What a segue. You teed me up so perfectly
hmm
because I thought we've been doing all of our AI generated themes, our themes of the week. And I just thought, you know what? I should have done a Christmas one. I
Yeah.
should have done a Christmas Carol one. And so I went to go do that last night. And much like the original round of AI songs, I then fucked this one up. However, I was using a different service than the one that I used before, simply because I was trying to be cheap and I'd have to reactivate it for like $15 a month. And I only paid for that 1 month. All the songs we've been playing for months, I made in like 2 weeks. And I was like, done with this.
Nice.
So I found a free one. And this time, I put in the prompt, but it didn't turn the prompt into lyrics like I wanted. It did just turn like the message of what I was doing into a song. And the message was a podcast about two friends who talk about their pop culture interests and argue. Their names are Mike and Randy. It didn't do that like I'd wanted this time, to just make a Christmas Carol version of those words.
hmm
It made us this song.
Like I don't know what to do. This bickering just got real too
Whoa.
soon. I'm tired of your passive aggressive tone. You wanna fight, you've already won. But I'll bite my tongue like a good friend, so you can tell me that you hate me again.
I think they nailed it.
We both know we're just fighting
I
for
wanted a Christmas
attention.
Carol.
We don't really care about each other's decisions. Are we friends? Are we friends? Are we friends? Are we friends? I wonder, are we friends? Are we friends? Are we friends? Are we friends?
Wow.
I cut it off. What? I wanted a Christmas Carol, and it gave me this like the saddest song.
Yeah, I was Was there ever folk singers named Carol? Like, I think how could AI have screwed that up? Yeah.
This led me to what will be our song of the week, our official song of the week, because I I thought that sounds a lot like, maybe it doesn't sound a lot. It kind of gave me Tegan and Sarah vibes. And I was like, oh, that would work. That would work out really well.
Yeah.
And then, so here comes, not to spoil it, but here comes our big song of the week.
A song about two friends who host a podcast together and argue regularly about their pop culture interests and if they're actually friends or not. One friend is named Mike, one is named Brandy. Wait, are these guys friends? Why are these guys friends? Were these guys friends?
This is why it felt so Tegan and Sarah to me. I don't know how they got this. But like early 2000s Tegan and Sarah, they got a little harder.
Right.
Were these guys friends?
Yeah, when they were a little more fun-loving.
I'm learning the controls of all this video shit. For our podcast listeners, you guys are going to be like, for the audio only people, they're going to be like, what? This seems sloppier than usual. I'm going to be like, yes, you're right. Come to YouTube where it looks fantastic and I'm struggling. I'm struggling so
I got a little feist out of that too.
Oh, that's a good one. That might actually be better. I think that might be a better shout on that. But it made me think of it because I felt like both songs had that repeating chorus about being friends at the end completely accidentally. So who knew? So very, very odd, very interesting, but neither one felt particularly festive, which is what I'd really wanted to go for the entire time. But I'll try to figure one out.
Like Johnny Mathis or something next week, or
oh, that's fun. Next week we'll have one more Christmas themed content before a best of at the end of the year. How exciting! But I'll try to actually end the year with a Christmas themed song. It'll be lovely.
Racing into 2025.
But at the rate I'm trying to get some of this stuff working, I'll be stumbling drunkenly into 2025, just screaming for help,
dragged into 2025,
regretting decisions in my life. With that, do you regret anything in what you watched this week? Because I might.
Well, as we are taping this a touch ahead of when it's coming out, we're coming right off of the Thanksgiving weekend. So we hosted a lot of people here for the Thanksgiving holiday, which is nice. Great to have everybody here. That did lend to, really, we just watched the football games, and I think that whatever TV movies or whatever were on that night, the movies they start putting in circulation on cable. There is one show we started watching on Netflix called The Madness.
Oh.
And I got to look at the main character's name because
do they use the Muse songs?
They don't.
That's all I could think of immediately.
Coleman Domingo is the lead actor. I don't know what else he's in. He's a familiar face.
All right. Well, as I don't know the name, and this is primarily an audio format, this is not going to do a lot for a lot of people.
Not going to help a lot of people, but I'm very quickly scrolling through his filmography. Stand
anything
by,
else
won't
that
you please?
No, I'm saying.
Well done.
And if you don't find anything good, it's just what an anticlimactic ending. Is this a breakout role for him, or had you said you'd seen him in things?
It looks like so. He was in Selma in 2014. He was in 42, the Jackie Robinson biopic.
That was a really good movie.
Black Bottom. He was in one of the Transformers movies as Unicron. I don't know, but
I only know that because of videos I watched that have made fun of those movies. I've only seen the first two, I think.
Okay, I guess he was on Euphoria, which I didn't watch, but I guess that's where my wife recognized him from that. So is that the Zendaya HBO show? Yes.
Euphoria?
And you know what I noticed him from? I didn't watch the whole thing, but I started watching Fear the Walking Dead, and he was one of the main characters in that, and that's why I remember he was Victor Strand in Fear the Walking Dead. Was Victor Strand in the comics?
No, I think that's an original creation.
Okay. Gotcha.
They got pretty far away from the comics by
I mean,
then.
there was only
like
so much they
very
could.
far.
There's only so much
But
left, and they mined a whole bunch of it. But
can I tell you a fun Euphoria related story
all right.
that you may have heard in your real life, but peels back the curtain on our real lives here.
All
It's a
right.
work story from
Mhm.
my time at a unnamed TV place. Well, it's a studio show. We're working in a studio, and the studio that we're in has got 6 monitors that can form one image or be like 6 individual images, right?
Mhm.
And we had done an interview with somebody, and it was the one image. That's lovely. That's nice. Their face had been in it. We're good. And whatever video source it had been earlier in the day became HBO. And I
Okay.
realized later it had become
Oh
it
boy.
had be yeah. I realized later it had become HBO because I think the person wanted to watch John Oliver, because
Mm,
after the story I'm about to tell, they changed it, and then it mysteriously went back around 11:30. I forget when.
yeah.
And I was like, oh, that's why it had changed in the first place. Good for
Yeah.
them. But I will say first off, this is not on air. This was all behind the scenes. No one
Thank
on
God.
air would have ever seen this. But we're sitting there, we're doing a show, and my director looks over and he goes, "Ho!" And I go, "What?" And he just points at my monitor with the monitors on it. And I swear to God, it could not have been lined up more perfectly. Like someone had designed a graphic for this monitor. It was just 6 individual penises in
Oh my.
just across the monitor. And I'm like, "Oh!"
I was gonna say
And
there's a lot of nudity and drug use in that show. So, but
yeah, it's because Euphoria was on, as said, in case you guys hadn't picked up on why I was going there with Euphoria.
oof.
And I called the department immediately that handles all of that stuff. And the responsible thing would have been like, hey, there's some inappropriate content and this feed. Could you please take it out? Blah blah blah. In my haste, I wanted to sound professional. And I just like I didn't want to like I actively was thinking I don't want to pick up the phone and be like, there's a bunch of dicks coming down this feed.
Right. Yes.
So I thought, okay, I'll be professional. And everyone after just paused and like looked at me and said, why did you say it like that? What I said was, I went, hello, there are a lot of penises coming down frame 25. And they're like, what? I go, many penises are
Oh
on the
my.
frame. So the best part though is that the guy clicked over and he went, oh yeah, ooh, yeah, okay. And he changed it immediately and went, all right, well, okay, good. But they just went, why did you say it like that? I was like, I was trying to sound professional.
It's succinct and descriptive, I guess.
It was anatomically correct, not
Right.
inappropriate. Like you think about how
It was
in some
accurate. Right.
movies, right? And like you think about in some movies and stuff when people have said, "How did you not get like a hard R rating or X rating?" It's like they did something medically that was anatomically correct. It wasn't embellished. They showed like the
Mm.
gross brain surgery, but it was all accurate and true, so they got to show the whole thing. I was trying to just be correct on it. So,
So this
that,
guy, he's in the show called The Madness.
oh, dick, 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 dick,
Yes,
dick,
there
dick.
is no, he does not do full frontal, so there is no showcasing of anything. And but the idea is he is a, I guess, political host. He has a show on CNN or is a CNN contributor. So what happens is he is involved in a separation with his wife, and he is trying to, in addition to his CNN contributions, uh, go and write a book.
Hmm.
And he goes to the Poconos, he rents this cabin for a couple of weeks, and as he goes to this cabin, he meets the guy who lives next door to him. The guy says, "Hey, yeah, if you need anything, just I'm right here. Like, feel free to come on over." So the guy is sitting here. His name's Muncie. Is sitting there working on his book, and the power goes out. He
Hmm.
goes to the generator. The generator's out of propane, so he goes to go see if the guy can help him. The guy he isn't in his house. He looks over. There's an outdoor sauna with the door open. He goes and he looks in the sauna, and the guy is cut up in 40 pieces. Like,
Oh,
yeah. Uh,
I did not see that go. I was convinced to be like, and the guy's going to attack him and blah, blah, blah. Oh,
no. And
Oh.
so, and then there are two other people that are, decked completely out in black ski masks and start chasing after this guy, Muncie.
I keep
Uh,
hearing Munson, by the way, from
Munson?
Kingpin. I know it's not. I know you're saying Muncie, but
Muncie,
I just
yeah.
like
So,
Munson.
but it is kind of fascinating. It's how he's trying to navigate because essentially he's being framed for this guy's murder. That's where it comes to. And how he's navigating through that and trying to figure out what are these things that are happening to me? I don't understand it. There are elements of presumed innocent. I had talked about presumed innocent before, and it feels like that where things are unfolding, that it feels like he's being framed and you're pretty sure he's being framed, but you're questioning a lot of things of why is this happening? Who are the players? Who are the puppeteers and all this type of thing? And so about
Sounds
four episodes in, limited series, really
How many
entertaining so
total?
far. I believe it's 8. So halfway
Okay.
through.
It's funny to me as I was listening to you describe at least the first half. I can see where, or at least the first setup, I could see where obviously it becomes more of a thriller, politically aligned type thing. But the first part, all I could think was, you keep telling me how you don't like horror, and you're watching a slasher movie. It sounds like, but
No, very
I
much
get the
crime
difference.
thriller.
I get,
yeah.
yeah.
This is
As you went on, it obviously sounded
Enemy of the
more.
State, French Connection, that kind of stuff. This is essentially what that kind of thing is. So
I haven't watched Enemy of the State in a very long time. I
Good
should watch
movie.
that movie again. It did. I remember 99. I think I saw that in the theater. And since I was too young at the time to really have known about the French Connection and why they would have even have cast Gene Hackman into that movie, to me it was very mind-blowing type of movie. Realizing it was really just kind of a step down from an earlier movie in some degree. But anyway, what else you got? Anything good? I got a couple of things, but I don't want to cut you off.
No, that was pretty much it. I will say this is a different sort of media that we consumed. I know you don't like that, but
no, I like consumed. You told me you don't like consumed.
Did I? Oh, okay. Well, then I'm still using it and being hypocritical, which is what else is new. But
you go back in the archives, go back and listen to every episode, and you will see I have not perjured myself. This is true. Yeah.
In the holiday spirit, I live in Connecticut, as we've established, and down on the shores of Connecticut, in a town called Stonington, they put together they call it the lobster trap tree, and it's a bunch of lobster traps built up, and they put lights on it, and then there's also buoys, like buoys, like
I got
the things that bob out in the water, and people decorate them or paint them and put them on this tree, and then it's a donation type thing. You bid for and then all this money goes towards a good cause, and it's a really cool thing. People just wait in line to kind of take a picture with it, inside it, and around it. And so we went and checked that out. Just a very unique kind of Christmas tree lighting type thing, which was fun to go see. So it was a piece of media that we got to check out. Very cool.
That reminds me, I'm based in just outside of DC in Alexandria, and I was working at Cap One Arena last week, and you just reminded me they've shut down like 2 of the streets around Cap One for a giant holiday market that goes till almost the end of December. And I got to go back and check that out. At the time I thought this is neat, but also I'm trying to get to work. now I'm like, oh, I gotta go look at that.
Do you know, is it a just kind of more generic holiday market, or is it one of the traditional, like, I think it's called Christkindl market, the German ones?
I think it's more generic, but it's big. A lot of food, a lot of stores, a lot of knickknacks and stuff. It gave me real Pike's Place Market in Seattle vibes.
Okay.
Not the size, but just the type, like a ton of food, a ton of this, a ton of, And I was like, oh shit, I got to come back to that. And I had forgotten about it until this right now. So we're going to actually pause and we'll pick this up tomorrow. I'm going to go to the holiday market. This has been really nice. Anything else, or I'll dive into my bullshit.
All you now. That's pretty much what I checked out.
The main non-holiday thing that I watched this week is, I didn't even realize this has been released. I hadn't even heard it was being made. The first thing I saw was like a TikTok reaction video of Paul McCartney, and the caption was sitting down to watch the Beatles documentary. And I just thought, oh, is he just watching Get Back right now? Because Get Back was, what, 2 years ago? No, there's a new Beatles documentary on Disney Plus that I completely missed existed until this week.
Wow. Okay.
It's really quite interesting. It's called Beatles 64. And I joked with a friend. I think I wrote down what I had written here, but it was basically like, how how are they still finding footage of the biggest band in history that no one's seen? And also, by the way, it's from the week they were in New York for the first time leading up to the Ed Sullivan show.
Yeah.
And it's like 4K restored footage
Oh.
of that week when they're new and fresh and it's their first time in America. And they framed the footage with they got Paul and Ringo to come do new interviews and talk about the era. They've got fans. They're talking about the culture in America and why did they embrace the Beatles. And they talked to some of the girls who were screaming their heads off and became that Beatlemania fandom. And what's really interesting is they actually had a couple of interviews that felt so much deeper than, well, we just liked the music. It was like, it's weird to say how you look at it now and it seems so odd, but it just felt so right then. And like really talking about why would they do it? They weren't just going this, they felt it. And it was really fascinating. And I took a few notes, and my first note was from Paul McCartney telling a couple of stories, modern day, like recounting. And I just thought, how would you feel if you had to constantly talk about one 15-year period of your life from your 20s and 30s when you were 82? Like, he is
Fair.
so gracious, and so is Ringo, so cool about it. But I think a reasonable person would be allowed to be like, I'm done talking about this. You've heard
Yeah.
everything you need to hear about this. I'm so played out on this. That was 50 years ago for me. I have not, like, I'm not that person anymore. I thought
Yeah.
about that. I was like, that's just a fascinating thought to
That's
me.
the William Shatner SNL bit with the Trekkies, right? Like,
Yes. That's
a little meaner, but like it's still the same
is. And
idea.
also he kept revisiting Kirk, but
Yeah.
I get that I get that. I wrote a couple other things. I thought George being obsessed with the camera, like one of the first things you see interpersonally, like of them just being themselves, is George is fixated on the technology of the camera, how it's working, what are they doing. And I just thought that's amazing because he would go on to produce films and really he would love to working with Monty Python and helping to get into that kind of technical world and really knowing how are the films being made. And it's amazing seeing that then, right? Years
Yeah.
before he had the money and the influence to be doing that type of stuff. And you just see, like, George has always been my favorite Beatle, the most genuine seeming, the most like, he always felt like he was the one who never really changed that much.
Yep.
Ringo probably too, but just there's something about him. And I just thought, there it is. That's why there's more of that. He's just himself and genuine and a cool fucking guy. Ringo.
That's not uncommon. Weird, like oddly enough, like a lot of people that's their
Feel
favorite.
that way.
Just because there's something to his songs. Everything he wrote always just seemed to have an uplifting or a nice kind of just I always go back to Here Comes the Sun. You're just like,
oh yeah,
like,
yeah, you're absolutely right.
It's just a nice soothing song, just easy. It's like, what a nice message. So, but
can I hit my dumb joke? Then I'll keep going. You could say there was something in the way he wrote. Okay, cool. All right, moving on. Thank you for your
time. And you did.
I did. The only other notes I have from the Beatles themselves were Ringo. I get the Ringo jokes about how he was also there because in this period, he had only been in the band a year. Because again, he was a late replacement as they were becoming famous. And you can kind of tell in my mind. And that, yes, he's a great musician. Everyone talks about why he needed to be in the band, and that's all true. But in the behind the scenes stuff, he really does feel like he is a little more detached than the others. Not a ton. You can tell this event is bonding them together and that they'll be together forever. But personally, I feel like I felt that. And then I said Paul McCartney is as witty and charming as ever in 1964. And John Lennon really does seem like an annoying prat even then. And then he would only become more so as, you know, he got more famous and more up his own ass and all that. Like, the more behind the scenes stuff I've seen over the last few years, I really don't like John Lennon, like, as I see him. And maybe that's why I didn't like Yesterday, because the entire thing was the search and the emotional code of was finding John Lennon. I was like, yeah,
Right.
he seems like a really nice guy in this alternate timeline where he couldn't become a twat.
Yeah. Right.
So what other things? A couple other notes. Oh, when I first started watching it, I eventually got up and I went upstairs and I watched it on TV because I was really into it. When I first started watching it, I was just scrolling in bed in the morning before I started my day. Like, I just relaxing. I didn't have my contacts in. I didn't have my glasses on. And I just wrote, when I first started watching this, I did not recognize the old man with Ringo. Ringo was instantly recognizable because he's a fucking Ringo Starr. I just saw this tiny hunched over old man, and they're looking at Ringo's outfits from the era because they have a quote from him saying he's a hoarder and a pack rat, and it's true. He has saved everything. It's amazing. And I just thought, oh, what's this old man? Yeah, that was Martin Scorsese. Once I got my contacts
Oh,
in,
him.
yeah. But I was just like, who's this fucking old guy that I can't tell because I have no. And by the way, I'm on my phone, but I'm like this, and it's still kind of half blind to me because that's how blind I am. It's like barely just out of reach of my face. And I was like, oh, that's Martin Scorsese. Okay.
That guy. Got it.
I loved Smokey Robinson because I'm a huge Motown fan, talking about how stunned he was that the Beatles were just talking openly about loving Motown because the 60s, white artists coming over and being like, yeah, we're influenced by Motown was not a thing that was said. They were just ripped off and covered and tried to have bigger hits than Motown, which didn't always work sometimes. So he's kind of one of the last Motown originals still kicking. And my dad actually saw him in Milwaukee in concert last year and said he can't quite hit the high falsettos, but he's still got it. It's really, really cool. But to hear him talk about that and to get any legacy on that kind of recorded on film feels really cool. But anyway, worth a watch. Oh, they do one little funny segment where they just talk about Beatlemania and the hype of what it became. And they do bust out a bunch of the insane Beatles merchandise that existed. And I kind of want I don't need the powder, but the bottle of Beatles talcum powder. It was a fascinating design. And watch the documentary. I'd love to see it.
Wow.
So, are you a Beatles fan? Some people aren't. Some people are.
I like them, yeah.
Strong
so
opinions.
I am not as much into them as others, but I do not have any. I'm not also the type of person that goes, oh, I need to have this. I probably lean a little more Stones in that head to head, but that doesn't mean I don't like the Beatles. There's a lot of great songs they have, so I'm not against it. Some people are like, it's not cool to like the Beatles or something stupid like that.
I was just going to say, what really gets me is I don't often go for the kids today, but there is and really not even the kids today, it was the kids in our generation too. There's this weird hipster vibe where sometimes people think they're taking a stand to be like, the Beatles didn't influence that much. They're ripping off Chuck Berry and Motown. They said it themselves. It's like, right, maybe those first couple of years, but then they evolved and they influenced, and their reach and what they did for music and music production and the state of fame and all these things. Like, it's not beyond the music. If you're sitting here trying to tell me the Beatles didn't influence the next 3 to 4 generations of musicians, you are uneducated and fuck off.
Yeah. I do think too, an underrated component of their music is the multi-part harmonies. I mean, there's so few that are doing that many types of it into the level. We're very used to just someone singing harmony. You got a 2-part or whatever, but when you get 3 and sometimes 4-part harmonies, it's really impressive how it all blends together. And in the context of a 2.5-minute song, right? Because that's what had to exist in that time frame as a single. And so to get that all together in one very memorable component is, I'm very impressed by them. And like them very much. I'm not a diehard. I am not a hater. How about that?
No, good. Fair. That's a lot of people are going to fall into that camp. I do like the Stones, but I think if I were push come to shove, I go Beatles over Stones.
Interesting.
So that can be kind of a fun. We don't have to do that now, but one of these days we should look at like the biggest pop culture would you rathers, or the biggest hit, which ones, and we could run that list down at some point. That'd be kind of interesting.
I like
something to think about for the future.
Mm-hmm.
And then before we get into our TV episodes, I watched, how do I say this? I got I gotta find my notes on this one because my goodness. Oh, did I not take notes? Was I that? Did I convince myself I'd remember? I got drunk last night, Randy.
Saw the TikTok.
Yeah, I was just gonna say I shot a TikTok about have yourself a merry little Christmas. I did not intend to get drunk. I did. I get why actors spit out the wine. I get, because I had filmed it, and while I was editing, I was like, I'm drunk. I'm editing this TikTok very fucked up because I just was doing takes and like swinging it down and filling it up, and I was like, oh no. My friend Megan convinced me, and by convinced me, it did not take convincing. She was like, there's a Lifetime movie about Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce. And I was like, what? They're like, it's based on them. And I was like, oh, and it's, oh God. See, I had it all up.
Yeah, the Chiefs. Yeah, I did see that. I saw
well,
the promo or whatever.
There's two of them, though.
Oh, boy.
There's the one, that's, oh, Randy, I got the whole deep dive last night.
All right.
The Chiefs one that is allowed to use the Chiefs is just about Chiefs fans finding love at Christmas, right?
Oh, okay.
The Lifetime movie is your full. Remember when they did that Harry and Meghan, but it wasn't Harry and Meghan, and everyone freaked out about it? It's that. They just ripped their lives off and made a Taylor Swift, Travis Kelce movie, but they don't call him Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce movie. Or they don't. I'm bringing it up right now. So their names are not Taylor and Travis. It's Bowen and Drew. And
all right.
There's a couple of other funny things. Oh, you know what I'll do? This is why I wasn't taking notes. I was live texting my friend during the show. Okay, here we go. I'm just going to read some of these reactions to this. OMG, this has been on for 30 seconds, and this is already the best and worst thing I may have ever seen. It's amazing to me when I see a movie that clearly has more money and talent than a movie like The Room, but also can't escape being on its level. My brain is melting. I can't do this in one sitting. This feels like the perfect thing to watch with other people. I don't know if I can do this alone. And that, oh God, I forgot about this. I was watching it on Sling. Sling dumps to its first commercial, and it was a commercial for that movie that I was watching.
Wow. So, how meta can you get?
Yes. Let me find a few of the notes. Oh God. Okay. So the last, I won't go hard on this, but they do go to, you remember when Taylor started going to the games and it was like this big deal,
Yep.
You know, the NFL's freaking out, they go to one of his games. And also they have, what's the other Kelce brother? Jason Kelce?
Correct. Yeah.
Jason. Okay, I almost called him Jeff. Jason Kelce. He has a parallel in this movie too, but they put them on the same team. So Jason Kelce is the quarterback, or fake, not Jason is the quarterback, and not Travis is the wide receiver, and they're on the same team. And they go to one of their big games, and the mom's in the booth, and they're all meeting each other, and oh, it's so fun. They go to the football footage, and it is.
Oh boy.
I just wrote, is this crowd in AI generated animation? And not like they used AI to flesh out the animation. Have you seen those AI generated animations that are like a 3-second loop and it's all they could generate and it just goes forever? That is the yes. So if you're seeing it on YouTube, Randy is just raising his arms up and putting them down. It is 3 seconds of that. I swear to God, just looped in the crowd for the entire football scene. And I'm just like, what is happening right now?
They're a very excited crowd. So,
and then my final note is, well, 2 final notes. I wrote, this movie feels like it could have been written by putting 5 People magazine articles into ChatGPT and telling it to write the story of the Taylor and Travis relationship. And then we're going back and forth on a bunch of stuff. And I did find an article that's about the writer and all the Taylor Swift Easter eggs. I would say if you are a Taylor Swift fan, and I am, and you know about like her weird deep dive lore and all the stuff she does for fans and reference this and that, fucking the writer knew what they were doing. It is littered. It is not. While it is a cheap cash and grab of a topical thing, it was written with love to Taylor Swift because there's dialogue of there's one particular think of dialogue. Oh, Do you remember when the Reputation album came out and there was the single where it was like, Taylor can't come to the phone right now. Why? Because she's dead. There's a whole, literally just a rip of dialogue that's that about,
Oh
can you
wow.
get somebody on the phone? It's like, no, they can't come to the phone right now. And like, I know what you're fucking doing. Come on. But anyway, that led me to discussing the differences between Lifetime and Hallmark movies. And I Googled just what's the difference between a Lifetime and a Hallmark movie. And you know how Google's doing like those AI answers now?
Yeah.
Well, they will like give you a summary of something,
Mm-hmm.
which I don't love, even though I've joked about AI use and use it a little. But they kind of nailed it.
Yeah.
While comparing Hallmark versus Lifetime Christmas movies, Lifetime characters often have more compelling jobs. The main characters in Hallmark Christmas films tend to have the same kind of careers, typically in advertising or marketing. It
Mm.
can get stale, many feel, often watching the same types of jobs be portrayed. And I thought they fucking nailed that.
Okay.
Do you or the fam ever watch any like Hallmark Lifetime Christmas movies, or is this just something you
No.
avoid completely? I often do. You'll know I had to be intoxicated to give it a
That's
shot. I kind of got into it.
I mean, as an amuse watch, like I think, like I don't know if I would watch it as
There's some
actual
people who
like
go all in.
interest
There's a
media,
reason this
but
exists. Yeah.
but that one specifically like sounds like, oh, okay, just for the like winking nod type stuff. Like I'd be okay with that.
The last thing I'll say, and this is for you mainly. Do you remember what the capper to all of this is? I remembered what is, I think, a very underrated one-off. They never brought it back. I was finding
Mhm.
a one-off Bill Hader SNL game show sketch. The Lifetime original game show, What's Wrong with Tanya? Do you
No.
remember? Find it on YouTube. I watched it, I think, 3 times after I watched that movie. And it's a host, Bill Hader, doing, what is Bill Hader? Amazing host work. If it's a Bill Hader game show, at least he'll be good, if nothing else. There
Yep.
was Anna Faris hosting, and it was 3 white blonde women. It was Kristen Wiig was one of them. Um, the woman who went on to be Debbie on Brooklyn Nine-Nine's final season, I think. I don't remember the actress, but
Nassim
she was an
Pedrad?
SNL cast. No, not Steve. No. She was on Brooklyn Nine-Nine and she was on New Girl, but no, the girl who wanted to make a splash, so she kidnapped somebody and stole all the cocaine. Do you remember that on Brooklyn
Uh,
Nine-Nine? I don't know. A really funny arc.
no.
Whatever it is, she's the other white woman. But it's them bringing out traumatized people to ask, like, what's wrong with Tanya? They're all named Tanya. And then at the end, the best bit is when Bill Hader's going over the prizes she's won. He grabs Anna Faris and brings her in, and he turns into one of the abusive Lifetime husbands out of nowhere.
Oh no.
And he goes, all right, and come over here. And then she goes, okay. And she grabs him and come over here. And she goes, oh, you're hurting me. He goes, I'll do whatever I like. It's like, it turns out of
Oh
nowhere.
no.
And then by the end, he goes, oh, thank you for all the wonderful prizes. This has been really fun. I'm going to go home now. And he grabs, he goes, you'll never leave me. And I was like, oh, no, Bill Hader. But it was that.
I looked it up very quickly. Vanessa Bayer, that's who it is. So
Thank you. Thank you. That was killing me. She's one of those, I hate to say this, but I would call her C tier SNL cast members. Because, by the way, SNL 50 announced for February. That's big for us. That's
Yeah.
real big for us. That's special. I need that to be amazing.
It needs to be like 5 hours. I mean, that's a crazy thing.
And speaking of something that could be 5 hours, do we tier list the SNL cast members in February?
Ooh,
And I mean
maybe.
all of them.
It'll be a while, but yeah, maybe it's a 2-parter or something like that. So
I feel like if we're going to tier list the SNL cast members, I need to start prepping that now. Cutting out images, getting things like, I'm like, oh my God, they're going to be people I've never heard of, probably.
Yeah.
We'll do something.
Yeah, no, just bouncing off that real quick. Vanessa Bayer, I would agree with for the most part. I will say the things that she did that I liked, I really liked. I really thought were funny. She would do her Rachel from Friends on Weekend Update sometimes, which was a really good impersonation. Anytime she was the over-the-top theater kid in those sketches, I loved that.
Forgot about that.
Her and Taron Killam and like just it was those sketches. I could see people being annoyed with them. I always thought they were hilarious. I don't know. They always struck a chord with me that hit my funny bone correctly. So, or whatever.
Were you a theater kid or were you a jock? You were a
No, that's the
jock.
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's I was a kid that went to a small high school so you could play sports if you wanted to.
Oh, okay. So
You made the
here's
team by default most of the time, so if you wanted to play.
now here's the real question before we move on to our main topic, sir. Based on our friendship now, how we became friends, how we interact now, would we have in any way been in the same social circle in high school? I don't think so.
Possibly. I don't know.
Yeah?
I went to a really small high school.
Okay.
So it's if you weren't in with it was pretty easy to be in a bunch of different groups because that was all that
Actually,
was there. You know, it
actually
wasn't
kind of the same.
right. I mean, it's so I think when you go to a high school that is each class is 700-800 kids, I mean, there's no way you're going to know everybody. But when your class is 100 like mine was, it's pretty easy. So
mine was about 250, 300. So I kind of fall in the middle of, I always felt
I don't know. So if I went to your high school, maybe not. But if you went to my high school, I bet you.
All right. Fair. Sounds good. Fucking Ohio, am I right? You tiny little idiots. I couldn't help myself. I had to go for it. I actually always felt like, so I look at the world through wrestling and pop culture.
Of course, as you do.
And I looked at my social structure. If you had your main eventers were the really popular people, and then you had your curtain jerker jobbers, the people that nobody cared about. I always felt like I was, if not a mid-carder, maybe even an upper mid-carder. I was not a super popular kid, and I did get picked on through middle school into junior high. And then maybe it was confidence or finding friends, but into late junior high school, I never had a problem with anybody. I traveled in many circles. I didn't go to a ton of parties, but people came over to my house and did nerdy shit. And I don't know. I found my wheelhouse. Maybe that was it. I don't know. I always, I felt like I was an upper mid-carder, to use wrestling terms. Didn't quite crack that main event, but I did okay. So.
Yeah, that's interesting. I probably was there, and maybe slight, every once in a while, got a run for a title, but like ultimately lost and then was forgotten about.
I like this idea. Like we're gonna give Randy a shot. We think it is. We think the crowd support's behind him, but he just couldn't seal the deal.
Oh, he hit his finisher. Oh, kicked out at 1, huh? Oh, all right, that's gonna be one of those.
But is that asking out like a really popular girl and she says no at a party? He went for it. He went for it. No. She said no. By God, she turned him down.
Back to the hoe train.
He's not gonna be able to recover from this, King. Won't be able to recover from this.
All right.
You want
back to the Intercontinental title.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with the Intercontinental title. It's a fine. Some people have made that. They call it the workhorse championship. You really go.
I put in the work. Yeah,
you put in the work to really get to where you're at.
Maybe we'd be tag team champs, Mike. You and me. Maybe that's it. Maybe that's our.
All right, let's move on to the main topic. Because I can't think of anything to. I was trying to think of a tag team name. Perhaps another week. It would.
Yes.
It would probably not be flattering. So our main topic for the week, and I bet you have a bunch of honorable mentions, like I have a bunch of honorable mentions. We picked 3 of our most favorite Christmas TV episodes. Could be drama, comedy, anything you want to do, but it had to be Christmas themed. Not a Christmas Carol, not a direct pastiche, but just Christmas themed. And I've got my 3. I've got a whole bunch that I loved, a bunch I debated over. I actually have one pick that I was so in on my number 3 spot. I have my fully written notes, thoughts, and trivia. And then I remembered something else that actually works in that same universe and thought, oh no, that's better. That's a better episode of that. And then had to do all that again. So I technically did the work for 4 episodes. But I would love for you, I can ping pong off you. I'd love for you to start first. Are you ranking them or are these in no particular order?
Let's just go no particular order because I'm not sure. And I can tell you after, as I'm thinking about it, what I would, because I didn't particularly rank based off that as I was doing mine. And my first selection is going to be from 1960, if you can believe it.
Wow.
And I am picking Night of the Meek, which was a Twilight Zone episode, starring Art Carney as a department store Santa Claus. I would like to, if you will indulge me. I don't know if you've ever heard of this or know of this.
It triggered something primal in my brain, like an
Okay.
image of Art Carney doing it. But
Yep. It was also remade in the 80s with Richard Mulligan as the lead role. So
I don't
thought
remember that at all.
that was it was part of it. So it wasn't, this was its own episode. So I think they condensed it, or maybe I didn't do as much research on the 1980, I think it was 85 version from the newer Twilight Zone, but it was part of it was just one of the within the episode. This one was its own full thing. So if you'll indulge me, I'll do my bad Rod Serling as the as the lead in, and then give me the plot.
I'm very excited.
This is Mr. Henry Corwin, normally unemployed, who once a year takes the lead role in the uniquely popular American institution, that of the department store Santa Claus in a road company version of The Night Before Christmas. But in just a moment, Mr. Henry Corwin, ersatz Santa Claus, will enter a strange kind of North Pole, which is one part the wondrous spirit of Christmas and one part the magic that can only be found in the Twilight Zone. That was fun to do.
Honestly, I thought that was very good. I think you have the right amount of bass and throatiness in your voice to be able to pull off a Rod
It's the
Serling.
cadence too. You got like that's
that.
part of it with him. You got to do the cadence right. So, and I think I've been on Tower of Terror so many times that I know how to do a bad impression
Fucking
of Rod
love Tower of
Serling.
Terror. When they replaced, was it I've never been to California Disneyland. That's the one where they replaced Tower of Terror with the Guardians of the Galaxy version, right? Is that accurate?
No, it's still there.
I thought one of the Tower. I thought Tower
oh no, you're
of
right.
Terror
Yeah,
got fully replaced.
That's right. It got replaced. You're right.
Much like we talked about recently, how they've been modernizing things, and they're going to replace Muppet World with Monsters Inc. When they announce, if they ever announce they're replacing Twilight Zone Tower of Terror, I will get emotional and I might riot, and I will plan a trip to Disney, I think, to be able to say I went on Tower of Terror one more time. I fucking love Tower of Terror.
It's great.
Anyway, please continue.
So the premise is, and I'll try to rip through it as quickly as I can, is that the Art Carney, who is Henry Corwin, it takes on this job as a department store Santa every year, every holiday season. But he often shows up inebriated, and in this instance, he shows up an hour late, and he's obviously drunk. Customers complain, and so the store manager says, get out of here, like you're kicked out, you're fired. He tries to plead his case by saying, I drink because I live in this rooming house and with all these poor people, and I feel incapable of fulfilling my role as Santa. And wouldn't it be great if the meek could inherit the earth? And that's the name of the name is The Night of the Meek. That's the name of this episode. So he's still wearing his outfit. He stumbles into this alley, and after he tries to go back to the bar first, and the bar's like, no, get out of here.
As you do.
You're too drunk to even be here, dude. And when he goes into this alley, he finds a burlap sack of empty cans. But then when he trips over it, he realizes that it has the potential to hand out presents. It becomes a sack of gifts. And so he hands them out to children kind of in the street and then goes to essentially like a soup kitchen and hands it out to a bunch of homeless people, which starts to cause a big scene. And so the person that's running the soup kitchen calls a police officer. He takes Henry to the station because they suspect that he's stolen all these gifts that he's given to the children. And then they find empty cans in the sack once again. So the sack has reverted to its previous incantation. But so he's about to get sort of thrown in the slammer for the evening when Henry is able to procure this classic or vintage brandy from the sack, which is something that the officer truly wanted. So he's set
he's
free.
A drunk too. What a fucking hypocrite.
I mean,
what
his name's Officer Flaherty, so you can hit pretty much every stereotype
we're going
there.
With a little I didn't say it.
So he is, he is set free at that point, realizing that this is, he is what he said. And he runs into an old man who's sitting there smoking a pipe and says, well, if you realize you didn't get a gift, you've been giving all these gifts out, you didn't get a gift. And he said, well, I think I'd like to be able to do this every year. As he walks back to the alley, there's an elf and a reindeer sleigh waiting for him. And he takes off, and off he goes. And so he's received this wish, this gift of he's going to be Santa Claus every year.
That's
and
nice.
It actually
really
ends.
nice.
Ends a lot nicer than most Twilight Zones, but it is an interesting holiday, twist on anything. And a really interesting story, kind of fun. And it just I was really into. My stepdad was really into Twilight Zone. We watched all the episodes together, and so this was one I can always remember. I remember we watched it a couple times around Christmas time, and just a super fun one, which is not always the case with these.
No, I was going to say the first thing I thought was, a rare Twilight Zone with a happy ending, which is, it's still, as you said, teaching a lesson, which is very Christmas season-y. It's better to give than to receive, etc., etc. It definitely triggered something primal. I haven't seen this episode in a long enough time to remember any of it, but I had that mental flash of Art Carney as Santa because do they still do this? The Sci-Fi Channel would play like Twilight Zone at New Year's for like 24 hours or 48 hours. Like it was all Twilight Zone.
I hope so. I would.
I don't know if they still do this. For years, I remember it was New Year's was Twilight Zone on Sci-Fi Channel for just a marathon, and I watched it all the time. So I've seen many of those. I love me some classic Twilight Zone, although I don't know if I could hit anything other than like the highlights. I don't have a lot of deep cuts in my memory banks. But good stuff. Art Carney also, I feel like, I don't know how often we're ever going to have the chance to talk about Art Carney because I think he's come up one other time. I don't remember why, but just fascinating. Like, you look at the original Honeymooners and you look at Jackie Gleason and Art Carney, and Jackie Gleason kind of leaned into what was always his shtick. He'd go on to be the cop and Smoking the Bandit, and he did that shitty Richard Pryor movie, The Toy. And Art Carney, meanwhile, will go on to choose really interesting acting projects, eventually winning an Academy Award. And just, he really did a lot of things that stretched him. Although I would be remiss if I didn't also mention that he appears in the Star Wars Holiday Special. So perhaps I am talking out of my ass.
Yeah.
But I feel like he made a lot of interesting choices, and I should rewatch this simply because I bet he's quite good in it.
Yeah, absolutely. And kind of a fun aside that John Fiedler plays the cop, Officer Flaherty, and they would go on, I don't know if this is the first time they worked together, but they would go on to do The Odd Couple on Broadway together for a long run. Not long after this. So it was cool. It's cool when actors kind of find their way in other things. One other thing I found out when doing research about this is that at times, apparently, from interviews with people that worked with Rod Serling, they said he would just get kind of enthusiastic about an idea that he wanted to see somebody do something. And so a lot of this started from the fact he wanted to see Art Carney play Santa Claus.
I love that.
Which is great. And then was able to craft the story around it. So lots of fun.
This is going to sound so odd, but you think of creatives in the 60s, or even like just the way everybody was so stoic and buttoned up, and his portrayal of the Twilight Zone, obviously, how he hosted things, I'm sure lends to this. But the idea of him being excited makes me excited. Like the idea of Rod Serling getting like giddy, like, oh, this is going to be good.
Yeah.
I don't know. That brings me joy. Like the idea of that. I love that. So I am actually going to have to, I'll start with technically one of my honorable mentions because I won't do all the notes, but I am going to hit what my original pick was for what I would have talked about first.
Okay.
And that's Holiday Nights, Season 4, Episode 1 of Batman the Animated Series. Or technically Season 1, Episode 1 of the new Batman Adventures. Some people like to... if you watch Batman the Animated Series, it's when the animation style changed. The last season, I still love that season. They use the same voice cast, the same writers. They use all the same techniques. They just softened the edges a bit, right? And there are some people who say, because they do a time jump, some of the characters age up and do things, that it's a different show. It's very clearly just a time jump in the same continuity.
Yeah.
And I say that because that's a great holiday episode, but then I thought of a better holiday episode also in the same continuity. One of my all-time favorite single half hours of holiday TV, Comfort and Joy from the Justice League show, which is the continuation. They got, the voice cast from Superman, the animated series, the voice cast from Batman, the animated series. And they went on to do 2 seasons of Justice League, 2 seasons of Justice League Unlimited. But in the first 2 seasons of Justice League, which were always 45-minute, I think, 40-minute, whatever. I don't think they were just half hour. Whatever it was, they would only do 2-parters. It was big epic stories befitting the Justice League. Except for this one, which was a single holiday special in their run, the only non-2-parter, part of their regular season, though, where the cold open is the battle. And then the rest of the episode is they're going home for Christmas. Howard's the Justice League going to spend the holidays. And it's just really touching stuff. And one of the saddest moments is right off the top where Batman's not in the episode because Superman has a line that really gets you. He goes, "Oh, it's holidays. Come home with me, Martian Manhunter. You can spend the holidays with my family." And Martian Manhunter, the only living Martian trapped on Earth, is like, "No, I'll stay on the watchtower and do monitor duty. I don't want to burden you." And they go, "Oh no, Batman begged for monitor duty. He jumped to sit up alone on the watchtower on Christmas." And I'm like, that's so fucking sad. Especially because like Robin and Alfred and Nightwing all exist in this universe. But he's still just like, I'm gonna sit alone. I'm gonna sit alone. And I was like, oh, come on. But there's 3 distinct plots. There's the most touching one and the real emotional through line of the episode is Superman brings Martian Manhunter home to Kansas to spend the holidays with his ma and pa because he doesn't want him to be alone. Martian Manhunter spends the episode kind of seeing human customs and feeling very lonely and very out of place. At one point, after the family goes to sleep, he goes to walk around Smallville. He shapeshifts, so he walks around as like a, normal human guy and just kind of takes in some of the customs, and he sees some people in church and people walking the streets doing shopping. And there is one funny scene at the top that I took a note on that they address why Supergirl's not there for the holidays, and she went to go do something because she's, I think, in college at this point, and went to go do something with friends. And so they put Martian Manhunter in Supergirl's room. So it's stoic Martian Manhunter sitting in like this teenage girl's bedroom and just sitting there. And he goes to pet the cat. The cat hisses at him and runs away. And I was like, that's a fun moment. The emotional through line of that, though, the last scene of the episode, the code of it all is he sees all this. He feels more connected. And the next morning, it's him sitting in the bedroom, staring out the window, not shapeshifted even to his Martian looking form, which has always just been to look more humanoid, his true form, which is pointed, triangular, whatever, petting the cat, singing this like heavenly hymn out the window. And they go to Superman and his parents in the hallway, listening and not bothering him. And Superman just goes, "And he said he didn't bring a gift." And it just is so beautiful. And I'm like, oh God. And then the other 2 plots are more fun. There's the side plot with Green Lantern and Hawkgirl continuing their flirtatious relationship that developed throughout the show, where they would eventually become a couple. And he's a soldier and she's a soldier, and they're going to spend the holidays together. And she doesn't know about Earth Christmas because she's an alien. But this isn't him teaching her about Earth Christmas. She's like, "I don't give a fuck. I want to fight and get drunk and party. It's our time off." And he goes, "I'm down." And she goes, "You couldn't handle where I do that." She goes, "No, really, I could. I'm a soldier. I was a Marine." And she goes, "All right." And they go to this planet that is nothing but just like wild bar fights. And they get wrecked and they get into a fight. And the last shot of their plot is a beat up Green Lantern with like a black eye cuddling Hawkgirl, but also them in a pile of other people from the bar fight all hanging out together, cuddling each other. And I was like, this is great. And then the other subplot, which is like the really funny, goofy one, is the Flash is trying to find a toy for some orphans, and he promises he can find the toy. He's the Flash. And it's the plot of Jingle All the Way. There are none left. There's none left. And it's the Flash desperately trying to find a way to get this toy, to the point where he realizes he's the Flash and he goes to Japan and asks them to make one for him.
Yeah.
And then on the way back, he has to fight the Ultra Humanite, and it gets smashed, and it becomes this thing of like trying to get the toy, and it's a really fun little side plot. But the real emotional through line of it is that Martian Manhunter finding the reason for the season. But you get all the characters, having their moments, expressing the holidays in their own way, finding joy in each other, finding joy in the season, connecting to the themes. And for the show, the reason why it really works is this is the last moment of peace this team has before the 3-part season 2 finale, where it turns out Hawk Girl was a traitor. Her people haven't died. She's not the last of her kind like the Martian Manhunter. She was the advance guard for an invasion, and they're coming. And then that hits the 3-part finale of the bonds she has, tighter than the bonds she developed, all that classic type of stuff. And it's an amazing 3-part finale. It's called Star-Crossed. Really highly recommend it. It's like a little palate cleanser before that, after what had come for the season. Really highly recommend it. But anyway, what's your next pick?
So I'm gonna go to I feel like this is sort of a cheat because we have discussed many episodes from this show across our our time.
I'm excited.
I'm going to pick Grift of the Magi, which is a Simpsons episode from 1999. Let me see the exact.
It's not a cheat because I don't think we've talked about this episode. And I had a couple.
We haven't.
Yeah, I have a couple Simpsons episodes on my honorable mention, and this actually didn't make the cut. So I'd love to hear why it's your choice.
So there is a lot of really amusing things involved in it that just I think from a quotability standpoint, this is up there in terms of Simpsons references. There are many Simpsons reference that I will bring out of left field, but this has a whole bunch of different ones, and for I'll give the plot as kind of quickly as I can, but
please.
The idea is Kid First Industries comes in to privatize the school and is basically taking over Springfield Elementary just as a market research for the next big toy. They stop teaching them and then just try to figure out what the children actually really want in order to market this toy. What they end up marketing is Funzo, which is a targeted shot at the Furby, which was coming out this time in the late 90s. And it's basically the Funzo toy basically eliminates any competition. There is a amusing side where it destroys Lisa's Malibu Stacy, and the idea is they're trying to get rid of all the Funzos then because they don't think of them as safe or helpful toys, obviously. And so Homer goes with the kids to go to all these different places, all the different houses to take the Funzos out of the houses. And the way they do it is Bart and Lisa sing carols and get in the way. And so there's a lot of amusing things in the background where Homer is trying to take them and in true Homer fashion is falling and getting chased by animals and other things like that. What they end up doing is taking this giant sack of Funzos and try to set them ablaze. They do run into Gary Coleman at Kid First Industries, which is very random, kind of.
I got thoughts on that when you're done.
Yeah. Very kind of random, what's the word, cameo.
There you go.
And the way that it ends, there's a lot of different references here, but when they do actually burn all the different Funzos, there's a couple of them that emerge and look very Terminator-esque because all of the fur and cuddly exterior has melted away. They end up having Christmas with Gary Coleman because Gary says he's going to was it George Clooney's house, and they go, Gary, he's like, fine, I was not kidding. and they all have Christmas together. There's a lot of different kind of fun things here, just where in the instance where the Kid First Industries representative takes over as Bart's teacher, he kicks a book. It's like, here, do this to your book. He does like a spinning karate kick to the book, and then they cut later to Bart sitting there going, kicking books. It's like, I'm kicking books at I think it's a 3rd grade or 4th grade level. Get them books, boy. Like, Homer comes by and says that. There's just a lot of really kind of amusing things that happen throughout the whole episode, and I get a kick out of it too, just from some of the guest voices they have on there. Tim Robbins is the Kid First Industries rep, and Clarence Clemens from the E Street Band is the narrator. Yep, indeed, the big man on the sax, and then Gary Coleman, of course. So that's the plot. It brings me a lot of amusement and a lot of quotability, and that's why I really like this episode.
Okay, I guess my question too is, do you feel, before I get into a couple other thoughts, like, what's it feel for the Christmas season? Why does this make, just because it's set at Christmas-ish?
I think so.
Or it's because they're making a toy for Christmas. It's not even, well, I guess Christmas Eve, he does the reverse Santa, right? Where he takes he pulls the Grinch. But yeah, I guess.
And yeah, I remember that sentiment when I think about Simpsons Christmas as much of anything. I mean, I know Simpsons Roasting on Open Fire. I know there's a bunch of other Christmas episodes, but that final probably 90 seconds of this episode, I kind of think of that Christmas. Okay. It connects it for me.
I would tell you that's lovely. And it did make, I'm looking up a couple of things. It did make the Simpsons Christmas DVD set. So it definitely counts. Okay. You're all right. I do not like this episode of the show. This is mid-season 11, and season 12 is the first season. No, season 13. I lied. I've looked at this. Season 13 is the first Simpsons season where I can say I don't think I like any of the episodes in the season.
Yeah.
11 is building that. So from season 9 on, like 8 to me is the last perfect Simpsons season, top to bottom.
Mm-hmm.
Now, obviously, there's, even to this day, I consider there to be stone cold classics late into the era, right? They are not making all bad seasons all the time, but season 11 is in the midst where they're really on a downward spiral to me.
Yeah,
it's the Mike Scully coming up on Ian Maxtone Graham, like the people in charge of the show at this time are not the people I like being in charge of the show, and it shows. This plot to me is fucking nonsensical, and there can be fun nonsensical, but there can also be lazy nonsensical, and the beats that it hits, the twists that it takes. The Gary Coleman cameo to me is not funny because it's indicative of lazy late era Simpsons where they just put someone in there for no narrative reason, and it doesn't do anything for me. The Burns resolution to the whole plot about the school and the privatization, all that, is wrapped up at the very end with a joke that Burns was visited by 3 ghosts and I'm nice now.
I guess we said we weren't going to do Christmas Carol, and there I did it anyway, but
yeah, it's all good. So there's another Christmas tie. But to me, this episode is just so indicative of the decline of The Simpsons that I as I refamiliarize myself with it, listening to you and reading it, I actually have a little more vitriol. Like, oh, fuck this episode. Oh.
Fine. What's yours? I can't wait to shit on this. No, I'm kidding.
No, come on. You know, I love The Simpsons. You know, I love The Simpsons. It's below average to me. But no, it's not bad, but it is below average to me as a Simpsons episode.
Interesting.
Especially. So, sorry. I will hit that my big honorable mention where I thought about if I was going to put a Simpsons episode on the list is season 9, episode 10, Miracle on Evergreen Terrace. That is not my pick. I'm simply mentioning that is the closest Simpsons episode that made the list. I know there's a lot. That's the one where Bart lies when he accidentally ruins all the presents and all the stuff and has to lie about, and the town eventually figure out the truth and kind of turn against them. And the last kind of thing is the episode of the family being together with nothing. I like that for that reason. But my actual pick number 2 is Luda Christmas from 30 Rock.
Okay.
Which is just fucking fun and funny and still has a really nice holiday message about family and how everybody has a different type of family, because the Lemons come into town to visit Liz. That's her parents, with her father played by Buck Henry and her brother played by Andy Richter, and nondescript actress who I looked her up. I didn't know her from anything, but very nice woman. Playing her mother. And then Jack's mom, Elaine Stritch, who I believe won the Emmy. Did she win it for this episode? But she won the supporting guest actor Emmy, I think twice, for playing Jack's mom, Colleen. And she comes into town unexpectedly because Jack thinks she was going to have to spend Christmas with her. And it's just, Jack is so drawn to the kindness of the Lemons that his mom is like, that's bullshit, and I'm going to show you it's bullshit. And it's their two families interacting throughout this episode as Christmas builds, and the side plot of the big TGS holiday party, and how is Tracy going to handle it because he has an ankle bracelet on and he can't drink, and then planning for the party and kind of thinking, I think your party's too debaucherous and I'm going to teach you a lesson. And it all kind of coalesces, and as the best plots do. And it's fun. It's goofy. It teaches a nice lesson. And I've got a few moments that when I remembered this as the one with Andy Richter as Mitch with the memory, and he has like, I don't want to call it memento memory, but kind of, where he wakes up every day and he thinks it's 1986 and he's still in high school because of the accident on a ski trip. And he always thinks he's about to go on the ski trip.
Yeah.
I just remember thinking, yeah, this is the one. I love that bit. That's stupid. And the way it plays out when Siri, Jenna is flirting with Mitch because they fucked at one point and he doesn't remember. And Liz hates that. But he thinks he's 18. And that was years ago when Siri comes up, hot. And Jenna always is upset because Siri's way hotter and younger than her, and comes up and just flirts with him. And then Frank goes, that's a filthy Christmas miracle. I don't know. It gets me every time. Then I thought there's a point where I don't remember who says it to who now, but I think somebody says it to Liz and she goes, no wonder you're a sexually frightened know-it-all. And I just thought, respect. I feel that in my soul. That's who I am. There's a quote from Tracy. The holidays without drinking is rough. Turns out football is boring. My wife's sister ain't as cute as I thought she was, and I cannot play the guitar. That got me. And then finally, one that I feel in my life, I don't trust nice people. And that's true. I have had several people in my life where they are good friends now, good colleagues, and I like them, but I kept them at arm's length for a hot minute because they were too nice and I didn't know what they were about. No one's that nice, and that's genuine. Like, back the fuck up. What do you want from me? What's your deal? And I feel much about the same. This episode really proved that lesson right, because the Lemons have a lot of rage underneath the surface that Jack and his mom managed to bring out.
Yeah.
So if you're that nice, you're fucking hiding something, and that's the lesson that I've taken to task. So I don't know. I love this episode. I think it's fun. Really plays with the themes of the season, plays with the themes of the show, interpersonal dynamics. I don't know what else I could say. Do you remember this one? Do you know this one?
I did. In some of my research, I watched a couple of things yesterday, and this was one of them. And I watched this and Christmas Special, which
I did watch Christmas Special.
I thought
as well.
was inferior to this one. So which surprised me, because if you look at rankings and stuff like that, you start to just do some research on, what are some of the best ones. That Christmas Special goes way up to the top, and I didn't think it was as good. I mean, it's still funny, but this is I don't have many notes here. This is everyone kind of at their own. They're all at about an 8.5 to a 10 of their character, which is great.
Yep.
Just everyone's dialed up. It's pretty good.
I really think too, like seasons 2 and 3 of 30 Rock, kind of in that same era of where like seasons 2 and 3 of Community are just the best they'd ever be. They would still be good after that, but they're fucking clicking. And this is, I think, the season that was shortened by the writer's strike. And this is one of the episodes, I think, was it after or before? But I think it was, you could tell that they had not been interrupted yet because they're just moving along. It's so fucking good.
Yep.
I'm going to look that up right now. If you want to give me your next pick, I am curious. I'm going to look up that little bit about the season 2, though.
All right. So before I go to my third one, I'm going to knock out the ones that didn't make the cut, just because that will kind of show what was almost there.
Great.
So I know you have not seen The Bear, and I have given you grief about that, but there's an episode called Fishes, That is an incredible episode, known for a lot of its. It was very not publicized, but a lot of guest stars in that one: Jamie Lee Curtis, John Bernthal, Bob Odenkirk,
Damn.
John Mulaney, Sarah Paulson. Like you start, it's all these people that come to Carmi's mom's house for for Christmas dinner. And it's just like people keep showing up. You're like, oh my God, and someone else. Oh my God, someone else. Oh my God, someone else. And very cool because it takes place in Chicago, and you have, John Mulaney with Chicago ties and Bob Odenkirk with Chicago ties. So you have these actors that also tie in Chicago. So a lot of fun there. Now obviously not a very intense episode, and one that won a couple primetime Emmys, for specifically, I think, for directing.
Okay.
And then guest stars and things like that. So that was one that almost made it. Community, Abed's Uncontrollable Christmas. I wasn't sure if that was your third one, but okay. That one is a lot of fun just because it's very much the stop motion animation I like the Rankin Bass. And then a really nice message kind of at the end. What Christmas becomes. X-Files had How the Ghost Stole Christmas, which I don't know if you remember that episode.
I don't remember that at all.
So
I don't remember that at all.
Ed Asner and Lily Tomlin play guest stars as ghosts that are haunting a house that Mulder and Scully are investigating. What it ends it basically the ghosts try to just mess with. They pick people to mess with, and at this point they've messed with Mulder and Scully, creating apparitions that eventually make it look like they've shot each other. And so I'm spoiling it, but whatever. It's hard to
pretty
explain.
Old episode.
It's hard to explain without like getting through the whole thing.
Don't care.
But then Mulder essentially understands that, oh, wait a minute, because the idea is both of the ghosts created apparitions so it looked like one shot the other, right? So it looks like Mulder shot Scully and it looked like Scully shot Mulder. And they come together. It looks like they're covered in blood in kind of the doorway of this one hall. And then Mulder's like, wait a minute. And he realizes it and stands up, and the illusion is completely gone. Like they don't have the blood on them, and they were able to leave. And the last shot is Ed Asner and Lily Tomlin sitting by the fire holding hands. These ghosts that are just being like, we almost got him. It's just kind of,
I got to rewatch that. That sounds great.
And then it ends with Mulder and Scully giving each other gifts, which they said they weren't going to do, but they do. And so
that sounds really good. And also
cool
kind of, I'm looking it up right now, late in their original run,
season, right?
6. Yeah. Well, that's surprising. That sounds really good. I feel like
that almost made it. But what did make it, and it's in all its nonsense and all its fun, it's just I'm picking South Park's Mr. Hanky the Christmas Pooh
on my short list. Obviously, yeah, it's fun.
It's probably super well known. I mean, I guess I'll explain it, but this felt like
the talking shit. I did. I took care of it for you.
There you go. Sorry, well done.
All right, you can hit more.
But the idea that Kyle casts in the Christmas play, and his mom won't let him do it because he's Jewish. This felt like an episode where it was the 8th episode of season 1 of South Park, and I had started it for some reason. I got in early on it. I don't know why. I had just started watching it just for the heck of it, and was already a little bit ahead of the game. A lot of people on South Park at that point because I'd seen the 6 or 7 episodes I thought were hilarious. And
can I tell you why I think you were? I could have waited. I'm sorry. I'm rude and I interrupted you.
Go ahead.
Because I also was an early adopter, and I bet it's because at that era, knowing us, that was when Comedy Central all day was playing SNL and Kids in the Hall reruns. So we probably just fucking had it on and watched it because we were seeing or because they were running commercials for it all the time during SNL and Kids in the Hall reruns, that we would have been like, oh, we should look at that. We were probably being inundated with it because I know I had that shit on all the time.
I have a very weird, distinct memory of I went down to West Virginia and my stepdad and I went whitewater rafting. We did like a whitewater rafting trip. And we stayed at this hotel in wherever it was, West Virginia. And I remember that the cable, they had like 4 channels or something on the cable, but one of them was Comedy Central. So because I didn't want to watch the news or whatever, I had that on. And it was one of the first episodes of South Park. And I started to watch that and then just got into it from there. But I remember telling my friends, hey, you should check out the South Park show. And some of the first ones that they saw was it's Mr. Hanky, and they were just dying laughing. They're like, I mean, now when you're 17, 18 years
Of
old, I mean, of
course.
course, but to get and of course, it is not nothing South Park does is PC, but the Kyle's Mom's a Bitch song is just it's an all-timer for their
Yeah.
musical catalog, and I mean, again, brought into the movie, but that's one I sit and I don't feel great about thinking about that, but still that it's so catchy, even though the lyrics are not great at all.
Oh, God.
But uh,
There's a reason they went on to make the movie a musical. There's a reason they went on to make a musical.
yeah,
Even in these early days, they're so good at that. Trey and Matt are just fucking brilliant. It's
they just
insane.
to be able to layer things and that seem to be the lowest common denominator, seem to be low-hanging fruit with their jokes, which a lot of times are, but then ultimately are speaking to an overarching like theme or taking pot shots at something that's way more highbrow. It's incredible how they do it. And they do this throughout this completely. So
I actually feel like, correct me if I'm wrong, and I have to look at an episode list. I didn't realize this was season 1. I was thinking this might have been season 2.
no,
So it's amazing that this comes so early in its run. The first couple of years of South Park focused more on the toilet humor than the meta commentary.
yeah.
But I feel like this one really does lean more into the commentary. Was there one before this that was doing that, or is this one of the earliest instances in the show?
So, I mean, you could probably argue that Starvin' Marvin was a similar kind of idea.
Okay.
So, but this really like all into it, and just this is way ahead of its time in terms of cancel culture and things being too PC, and just trying to make sure that, oh, we're not offending anybody with this specifically. And apparently, the originally when they first conceived of South Park and their initial concept, they wanted Mr. Hanky to be one of the main characters, which I can't imagine that continuing with. So mercifully, they moved on and just brought it back for what it was. But it's super fun. It's the first time Kenny doesn't die, which feels like a little bit of a gift, which feels like a little bit of a gift to him. So I like that little sentiment it's at the very, very end where Kenny is just like nervously looking around, waiting to see what's gonna happen.
That's right.
And it says the end, and woohoo! It's great.
The season gets you right there in the heart. It's great.
And,
which, by the way, I cut off your plot description. I apologize.
No, good. It's just basically Mr. Hanky appears to Kyle to try to get them to say to help believe in him and believe in the Christmas spirit. And Mr. Hanky dances all around the toilet or the bathroom from the toilet that he's come out of. So when the mom comes in, it just looks like Kyle's been spreading feces around the bathroom.
That's right.
And that
I haven't watched it in so long.
And that comes in later where Mr. Hanky's in a box. I want to come out. I can't listen to Eric talk about this. And he's like, I'm going to jump at him. And it looks like Kyle threw a piece of shit into Eric. I mean, it's just, there's so many, and they're lowbrow, but they're hilarious. Oh, it's great. And the other kind of nice thing at the but what ends up happening is that Chef believes in Mr. Hanky, and that gets kind of everybody to believe in Mr. Hanky, and they realize that there's something to believe in for everybody, and you can't just shove it away and hope that no one is offended by you dealing something else. So and then of course completely capped off at the very end of it by they go to the public access show and Jesus is sitting there singing "Happy Birthday to You" to himself. So
that's right.
It's just like a perfect capper to that whole thing. I wanted to go around it and try and find something else that was probably made more sense or had a little more Christmas spirit, but God, I love this episode.
I do love the South Park Christmas episode Red Sleigh Down, where Santa's sleigh gets downed in Iraq and they have to rescue him. That one's very good as well. They do a lot of good Christmas
The Woodland
episodes.
Critters one is awful.
Oh,
really good
my God.
too.
No, that one's amazing. Did you ever play I know you're not a big video game guy, but if you've never played the South Park video games, they brought an episode to life. They crafted a new narrative. They brought an episode to life, and it is filled, I mean, top to bottom with characters and references. And it's an open world South Park. But they still do it. It's like it's like just walking down the streets, and it keeps the animation style.
Mm-hmm.
The point being, though, is there's a side mission where you find the woodland critters in the woods.
Oh no.
And I honestly don't want to spoil it because it's everything you want it to be. It's this game, man. I
Nice.
highly recommend it. And your episode and South Park as a whole. Although I don't know how I feel about the last couple of years, but that's a talk for another time.
Sure. I mean, 27 years, it's hard to.
It is. So I will hit my honorable mentions list
Mm-hmm.
and a couple of things. I actually wrote, this isn't an honorable mention, but when I was doing my look back and thinking of episodes, I wrote, 10 years of Friends. And I can't remember a single Stone Cold Christmas episode classic.
Yeah.
I do remember many Thanksgiving classics. Their Thanksgiving episodes were often Stone Cold classics. I can't remember. I didn't remember a single Christmas episode. And then when I went through, and no, I don't think there were any. So credit to their Thanksgivings, but
yeah, the armadillo one, I guess, but I didn't think it was that great. Ross kind of always annoyed me.
Yeah, many people. So I have, thinking of episodes I looked at, not necessarily honorable mentions off the top, Christmas Party from The Office, The Strike from Seinfeld, which is the Festivus episode.
Mm-hmm.
My mom, Greg's mom, and Josh's sweet dance moves from Crazy Ex-Girlfriend, which is a really fun episode.
Yep.
It does have the fantastic song California Christmas Time, which is on my Christmas playlist every year. Then I get into my actual honorable mentions, which is LAX Miss from New Girl, the most recent edition.
Sure.
Of all their Christmas episodes, that one really got to me, I think, just the most, of someone who doesn't live at home for Christmas, who travels, who isn't near family, and making your Christmas holiday the friends that you can have near you. That one really got to me. Yippee Kayak from Brooklyn Nine-Nine, which is their diehard Christmas parody, just so good. Ron and Diane from Parks and Rec, which is the one where you find out Jerry's home life is amazing because he's having the Christmas party.
Right.
And Tom and April and Andy can't get into the party and they're just seeing how perfect his life is. And Ben is just, every time he meets someone from Jerry's family, is like, "You're Jerry's wife?" And it's like, it's amazing. It's a Bundyful Life from Married with Children, where the message is Al goes back to life and Sam Kinison as the angel gets his wings, but he only chooses to go back to life despite how good his family's life is without him. So it's the opposite Christmas message, which is probably why it's an honorable mention.
Yeah.
But it's a really fun episode. All the Doctor Who Christmas specials are pretty good. The one that actually would have made my list isn't the Christmas Carol one I talked about last week. It's Voyage of the Damned, which is just the Poseidon adventure at Christmas with the Doctor. They're on a Christmas cruise line. That cruise line is circling Earth. It's going to crash. It's going to smash right into Buckingham Palace. It's a rousing action adventure. It's a really good time. Tons of guest stars, Christmas themes. It's what you'd want out of a Christmas episode, but not quite. But my actual pick, which I'm glad we're going in no particular order because I might like this one the most, is regional holiday music from Community. Just amazing. Amazing episode full of great jokes, great songs, Christmas themes. It hits some of the themes of Abed's loneliness, just like Abed's Uncontrollable Christmas did, because this is the next year and it's Christmas again. And he's still lonely. He's still trying to connect. And he gets sucked into the cult that is the Glee Club. And Taran Killam is the evil evil saint head of the Glee Club. Because it turns out this is all based off that one line in the Clip Show episode from season 2. One line, one scene where they said, "Oh, we filled for the Glee Club the year they all died in a bus crash," which is really just a joke about the fact that they hate the show Glee, which was on at the time. And then this episode also is kind of just a jab at the fact that they hate Glee, but it also has really good, fun songs and really good Christmassy plot beats. But Taran Killam, it turns out, engineered the crash that killed the original Glee Club. Then in this episode, the reason they have to fill in for the Glee Club is Jeff orchestrates a copyright strike against them using copyrighted songs and they all like lose their minds. And you see like one of the Glee Club members stabbing himself with a knife in the hand. And eventually it turns into a cult thing where Taran Killam gets Abed on board and Abed slowly gets the other people on board. And what I love about it is I love a good pod person movie. And this
Hmm.
is also secretly a pod person movie because they're being infected. And it's kind of Invasion of the Body Snatchers at
Right.
Christmas because they're all turning into Christmas Glee Club people. And it's like, who's next? Oh no, they got to Annie. And then it turns out they got to Jeff because Annie dressed real sexy and seduced him with a song. And they actually do the Invasion of the Body Snatchers 1978 moment where Britta's the only one left. And she's like, oh, Jeff, you're here. Oh my God. Just like Donald Sutherland thinks he found somebody. No, the girl at the end thinks she
Girl
found
did.
Donald
Yep.
Sutherland. And he does the scream and point. And it's like,
Yep.
no. And then, if nothing else, it makes the list because of the all-time line reading from the dean. At the end, at the Christmas play, when Britta comes out and he just looks down and goes, oh, Britta's in this? Which is just an all-time top 5 community reaction line moment where all the music just dies, the crowd deflates, the dean just, oh, Britta's in this? Just
Nice.
amazing. Amazing. And aside from that, then it talks about being nice to people, talks about Christmas themes, and it's just a fun,
Sure.
goofy Christmas episode. And I love Community, and I think it is the superior Christmas episode. I noticed it
Interesting.
didn't make your honorable mentions, so little dichotomy there.
Yeah.
How come?
I'm. It wasn't
Explain
anything.
yourself to me.
Probably just didn't make it within my research, to be honest with you. I didn't. I probably was looking within one, stopped at Abed's. I'm a big animation fan, and also, we grew up with all those Raskin.
Oh, yeah.
Raskin Bass.
Rankin Bass.
Rankin. Thank you. Always being
Baskin
on.
Robbins.
Yes. I was thinking, that isn't the senator from Maryland, Raskin. So it's a different movie. So, but I
What the
digress.
fuck are you talking about? What movie?
Is it? No. I said isn't the senator Jamie
Senator
Raskin?
from are you talking in a movie? Or are you talking
No. I'm saying that's why I'm thinking Raskin. Like that's why I said Raskin.
Right, but you're saying Jamie Raskin is he's the Maryland House of Representatives person. I
Rap.
see.
Okay. Sorry.
I thought you were saying that name was a fake person from a movie.
No.
And I was like, what movie are you talking about,
I did
Randy?
not say Rankin correctly. I said Raskin because I was thinking probably because within the last week or two I had heard about Jamie Raskin. That's probably where I got it into my brain. Anyway, Rankin Bass. I grew up with a lot of those and really enjoyed those. So the Abed's Uncontrollable Christmas always stuck out in my mind as the definitive Christmas episode from Community. However, you bringing it up, I like that one too, but I think it would still be, I think you're right, dichotomy, that I maybe didn't like that one as much.
Yeah, that's fair. I just realized I didn't keep on here. I did look up the episode also, Christmas Cheers from Cheers, which didn't really even make my honorable mention list, but it did lead me down a rabbit hole of looking up Ted Danson stuff because I still want to watch the new show, and I accidentally found what Cheers thought he'd look like in old age makeup in season 5 versus what he actually looks like now. They were not flattering to him. That was a rabbit hole I went down watching Christmas episodes. I'll put a picture here on the video podcast. I don't have it for Randy, but if you're watching the YouTube version, you'll see what I'm talking about right now. Randy, react like it's really
my God.
Yeah, right? Audio listeners, you don't know what you're missing out. Ooh. Thank you for
That's crazy.
Yeah, OMG, derp. But any other thoughts on Christmas episodes, other TV media? Like, anything else you want to hit? Your episodes, other things? What are you feeling? You feeling the holiday season? Is this the last couple of weeks getting you in the holiday season, or are you humbugging it?
Oh no, I am all in. It's as soon as the day after Thanksgiving hits. I think I've mentioned it on one of our first episodes or one of our first couple that I'm the guy that puts 15 inflatable stuff and lights and all that other stuff on the. We went and got a Christmas tree that is almost too big for our den, so we got many a Griswold.
You're a real tree person.
Love it.
Wow.
Yeah. It's probably more difficult to take care of, but yeah, it's something fun about. We found a Christmas tree farm that's not far from us. We can go cut our own tree, and now to be fair, we have a chainsaw, so I mean it takes 3 seconds to cut down your own tree, so it's not like we're really getting out there and roughing it, but it's still fun to do. So, and
Jack, hold the chainsaw. I'm having a beer. Careful now. Honey, should you have given him safety goggles? Boy needs to learn.
No, nothing like that. So I will say that probably the thing that makes I'm more nervous about after I've tied the tree to the top of it, if I tied it tight enough that it's going to slide off, than I am like manning the chainsaw and cutting down the tree. Like that part doesn't make me worried at all. It's the part of, oh God, please stay on the roof.
So you don't just go to get a real tree. You're going to, you say a farm, but like, it's not like someone goes out and you pick it out and they help. You are going, you're getting it, you're carrying it. Wow.
You cut your own. Now they have, they have, I don't know what to call them.
People?
Carts?
Employees?
No, like things that you put the tree on and then you can kind of drag it to so you're not carrying it. It's a pretty expansive farm. So we've gone there 3 or 4 years in a row. We know where to go, that people, there's certain levels, and if you keep kind of going up the hill and going over one other place, but a lot of people just stop at the first place and they just don't want to go that far, so they just grab trees. So there's usually a good selection if we go a little further. So that's what we've done, and it's a good time.
I'm genuinely fascinated by that. I only ever had fake trees my entire life.
Oh wow, okay.
So I think my dad at one point, we had the outdoor, I say silly, you say outdoor garage. My dad did a major renovation. The outdoor garage is so nice that when we sold that place and moved into the place I was at high school, they were able to classify it as an added room.
Oh, wow.
So when I say it was in the garage, he did bring in a couple of years at one place an outdoor tree just for the garage area that we did on Christmas. But indoors, like the main house, we only ever had fake trees. That's really neat to me.
We are that crazy enough that we have a fake tree that we put in a different room. So we have 2 trees in our house, and then a smaller fake tree that we put out on the front porch. Like, so it's,
wow.
Yeah.
I would love that. Not for the show. I won't put it on the show. Just for me. Send me a picture of your tree. Send me a picture of your house with all the decorations up. I'd love to see it.
Absolutely.
It'll be cool.
That's going to be.
And then if I think it's so beautiful and gorgeous, I'll be like, we're putting this on the show, and you'll see it right now.
It's totally fine. So
actually, are your outside decorations up yet?
They're not. I got to do that this week. So that's
okay. So if I had put up a picture when I said now, it would have just been a picture of your house, just a random picture of your house.
These suck. What is it?
All right. So I won't do that. I will put up something else. And people who saw that would be confused about, is that his house?
It's a teaser for our next episode. We can include it next week.
It's good. I love it. So, but we'll wind this down. Holly jolly, et cetera, et cetera. So next week, we're going to try something new and something different. Now, we've been hyping for some time that I don't like A Christmas Story. I never liked the 24 Hours of A Christmas Story. I don't like seeing the scenes from A Christmas Story. I would change the channel immediately. But I also, because of that, genuinely have not watched that movie in like 20 years easy. I am willing to suck it up and give this movie that Randy loves a chance. Next week, we're going to do a watch along. What that means for both audio and video, obviously we can't play the movie. We're not going to have audio from the movie, but we are going to watch the movie in real time, but it's not going to be a commentary. If we have things to talk about, if we have things we want to discuss, if Randy has fun trivia, because he knows it better than I do, we're going to pause it. So it's going to be a start-stop situation, but we're going to watch the movie, record our reactions, record it in real time, and that'll be the episode. For the YouTube watchers, you'll see the disgust on my face, the shock on my face. I'll throw up some still images so you know what part we're talking about. For the audio listeners, I'm pretty sure you'll be able to figure it out. We'll make sure you know if you wanted to have the movie on in the background, we'll know when we're stopping, we'll know when we're starting. You'll be able to follow pretty easily. But I'm going to suck it up, and I'm going to watch A Christmas Story. Randy.
Oh, I can't wait.
Why are we doing this?
You agreed to it.
I know. It seemed like a really fun idea 2 months ago when we first had the idea. Now it's
because it would never come.
2 months ago was so long ago. Reality staring me in the face. But with that, usual plugs. If you like us, please leave a review, 5 stars on your podcast provider of choice. Drop a like on YouTube. Leave a comment, positive, please. Helps the algorithm. We really like it. If you got some negative thoughts, Keep it to yourself, you fucks. I'm tired of it. I get enough of that on TikTok. But if you really want to have a deeper discussion or you disagree with something, Mike Barcode, MikeBarcode @gmail.com. And the Way to These Guys Friends Instagram page is up and running. I'm putting clips from the episodes up now that we have YouTube, and I can actually just clip video and it's not a pain in my ass. So that's you can find the Way to These Guys Friends Instagram page. But any final thoughts, or is this a goodbye?
I think in the holiday spirit, I'll give everyone their time. Goodbye, everybody.
A song about two friends who host a podcast together and argue regularly about their pop culture interests and if they're actually friends or not. One friend is named Mike, one is named Brandy. Wait, are these guys friends? Why are these guys friends? 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 Are these guys friends?